Hello, ladies. Hello. How are you, my beautiful, confident, successful business women? How are you going today? Oh, let me just say, I am back. If you hadn't noticed, I've kind of been a little bit quiet in the group over the last couple of weeks, and the reason is because I have taken a couple of weeks break. Much needed, as I'm sure probably most of you might be feeling it right now, because we are now officially halfway, well, 3 days away from officially being halfway through 2022. So I'm back, I'm feeling refreshed, I'm ready to go. And can I just say that, like, I have really missed hanging out with you girls. Coming on here doing some lives, we've had a couple of replays going in the last couple of weeks, but I've missed actually coming and doing this live because this is my jam. This is what I love to do. Now, before I get on with today's training, just bear with me while I set up to see the comments. Hey, Susie. Hey, Josephine. Oh, no. You see, I've missed you too. I've missed everybody. All right, my beautiful girls. So, as you know, we come live every single Tuesday morning to give you some training. And today I've got a really, I was going to call it a doozy, but I've got a really interesting topic for you. And for some, like it actually, I'm going to have to admit, for me, it was a little bit confronting to research this topic because I had to really look into myself as well. You are awesome. Good morning, Lainey. How are you, darling? You're all awesome, Susie. You're all awesome. All right, now if I'm a little bit rusty today too, the reason is because I've had a couple of weeks off, so I've got to get back into the swing of things. Okay, let's go. So I'm going to share my screen and make sure I share the right one because I'm so rusty. All right, so the topic that we're going to look at, as I said, is a little bit controversial today, and it is why your backup plan is or may be working against you. Think about that for a minute. And I know it is a little bit controversial to get us started for the second half of 2022, but it is really important. This topic is a really interesting / important one to think of. If we are brave enough, right, to dive deep into ourselves and get some mental clarity around why we might have a backup plan, okay? This could be the difference, ladies, between turning your business completely around or staying stuck and invisible and having no or very few clients. So this is how, yes, it might be a little bit controversial, but this is really important topic. So I'm going to get straight into it because I've got half an hour and you know how I love to talk. So first of all, let's look about what do we consider a backup plan to be? And, can they be good and can they be bad? Well, the answer is yes, they can, right? But it depends how we use them. So this is what we're going to talk through today. So what is a backup plan? We can call it something to maybe fall back on in case things don't work out. Controversial straight away, right? So we can often say things to ourselves like, you know what, I'll start my business and if it doesn't work out, I'll insert reason here, okay? So if it doesn't work out, that's okay, I'll just go back to my day job. If it doesn't work out, or we can say things like, if I don't make enough sales this month, that's okay because I've got money, I've got savings in the bank that I can still live off of. So the backup, so that those essentially can be our backup plans, and there are different types of backup plans. And as we go along today, if you can think of, or if you're resonating with any of this, let me know in the chat. You found me, Parme. There she is. So yes, they can definitely be, something to fall back on in case things don't work out. It can be a contingency plan, which is kind of, it's kind of the same, but it's different, right? As I said, I might be rusty. But, a contingency plan can kind of be, a plan designed to take into account possible future events or circumstances. So this is a bit like but what if this happens? Well, what if that happens? What if What if it doesn't work out the way I want it to? What if I don't achieve that goal that I want to achieve? So think about, what do these first two here have in common? They can, if we allow it, they can give us an excuse to be okay to fail. And I don't like that word failure. Again, you know that. But they can give us an excuse to fail if we allow it to. So they might even be keeping us lazy. Now, hear me when I say this. I don't believe anyone who chooses to run their own business is lazy. But there can be an element of laziness in it if we allow these backup plans to hold us back. This is, when I say the word lazy, I'm very prone or guilty of being lazy because I've had backup plans. And I'm going to explain through that as we go along this morning too. So, you know, I will come back to this. So it's gonna make sense as we go along. All right, so, and the last one is like a disaster recovery plan. Okay, so obviously there are times when things happened beyond our control, that, you know, disasters, you know, we've had a bunch of stuff happen. You know, let's go with the pandemic, but let's also talk in Australia. You know, we've had floods, we've had fires, we've had all sorts of things. But, you know, having a backup plan for these types of things is different. And they don't necessarily hold us back. That's a good type of backup plan to have, right? Yeah, disasters, exactly. So those are some different types of backup plans. And as we go along this morning, you're going to learn the difference between the good and the bad, and what might be and might not be holding you back. All right, so are options or backups or backup plans, are they a good thing? Yes, they can be good if, right? So this is the positive side of having a backup plan, if you do it right. So first of all, they can, if you look at a backup plan not as like a whole for whether your business succeeds or fails, or whether it works or it doesn't work, right? If you look at a backup plan as not as a whole, but as to how you might be able to use it within your business to achieve those dreams and those goals that you have for your business, right? So this will help you remain focused on that ultimate goal for your business, because and this is how you can use these plans to be really good tools to be able to change or pivot or go to another plan. Hey V, how are you, V? You know, when the time is right. So yes, they can absolutely help you. And like I said, there's a difference between having a backup plan for the whole of your business or for parts within your business. Now, let me explain that a little bit. So you can, like I just said, you can go, well, if my business doesn't succeed like I want it to, my backup plan is to drop the whole thing and go back to a day job. Or you can say, okay, if I'm not making the sales that I want to make this way, right? So if, for instance, you're doing webinars and your sales aren't working well, you know, running webinars, a backup plan might be to try something different, okay? Which inevitably leads us to adapting. They help us adapt to different situations. So if plan A is not working, right, you have plan B or C. I would suggest not to have a plan D, E, F, or G, right? I would suggest maybe have one or two backup plans if you're going to use them in this positive way. But if you give yourself too many options, that's when you're going, well, that didn't work, I'll go to the next one. Well, that didn't work, I'll go to the next one. That didn't work, I'll go to the next one. But, you know, if you use them properly, they can help you adapt to different situations. So you can move on to maybe try something different to see if that suits your business model better. Okay. Now, for instance, and I've just said this. So when I started doing presentations, I started doing half-day workshops, which went for like 3 hours. So they were long workshops, and it was a model that my coach was teaching, and it was really working for her, which was awesome. But the way she was doing it wasn't working for me. But I tried it, and I found for me that my energy was drained. Like, this 3 hour presentation was a long time to keep the energy up, and I just couldn't do it. And it was reflecting in my, by the time I got to it, it was reflecting to the attendees of these workshops. I was exhausted by the end, and so were they. So obviously I didn't get the success that I needed. So the plan B was, okay, to pivot that and use the same or similar presentation as a webinar instead, which worked really well. So the webinar was essentially plan B, right? So you see what I did? I didn't give up. I just tried something new. I adapted to make my business model to suit me. Now, here's one thing I want to remind you of here too, is be sure that before you go from plan A to plan B, give plan A a red hot go, because it might be that it's going to work. You've just got to pivot how you do it slightly within that plan A, right? This is getting really deep already, isn't it? But that's a whole other topic right there. So make sure that you give, plan A a red hot go before you go, well, that didn't work. I'll try it once and it didn't work, go to plan B. So absolutely they can help you pivot to different situations. And can backup plans be a good thing? They can help us, what am I trying to say? They can help us to change or deal with circumstances beyond our control, like I mentioned in the previous page. Hello, Reg, how are you, darling? So yeah, like I mentioned, circumstances out of our control, like the pandemic. No one knew what the hell this was going to be. And so this was out of our control. Natural disasters are out of our control. For instance, if Facebook goes down, that's out of our control. So what are contingency plans or backup plans that you have that you can use if these things like this happen, right? And let me give you a really good example. And I know, like Parmay, she's already said it, like Parmay last week. So my beautiful assistant Parmay was running the business for me while I was on a break. And might I say, she did an awesome job. But poor Parmay, in the first two, I think it was the first 3 days, she had no internet. She had no electricity. So the poor thing, obviously plan A, it was out of her control. She didn't have electricity. So she's gone, okay, so what's my plan of action if this doesn't work? And God love her, she actually went to another town and stayed there for a few nights and was able to do her work, which was, that's dedication for you in your job, right? But she had no control over that circumstance, but she was able to implement plan B. So that's why it can be a really good thing, okay? And also you think, again, relating back to the pandemic, if we ran an offline business, people had to pivot and do, like, plan B was going online, etc., for things like that. GV, how are you, darling? I hope I said that right. That's a lovely name. I love it. All right, so now how can backup plans backfire, right? So, and this is the type of plans that are just in case, right? Yes, they can backfire, right? And this is where I really want to dive into it today. And I really want to, I would love you, as I have had to do, is to have some really, really dive deep into yourself, your mindset, and how your business is running at the moment. So, can they back up fire? Yes, they can hurt our chances of achieving a goal, right? So, just as backup plans can be a good thing, they can also allow us to absolutely shift our focus really easily from that goal that we want to achieve, right? And as I said before, if we don't try something long enough to see if it works, you're not giving yourself enough chance to know whether that's going to work. And it can be, and trust me, I had workshops, I had webinars which um, I had advertised for weeks, and then I had 60 registrants booked to come to these workshops and webinars, and then no one would turn up. Right? So, and that's just how business goes sometimes. Or there maybe one person would turn up, but I kept trying, and then as I kept trying, and as I pivoted, and as I kind of honed my message, and worked on the presentation itself, um, I wasn't going to the backup plan. I was improving what was already in place, right? So if we don't, but the thing here is I still had that ultimate goal in place. So if we allow our focus to shift from that goal and what we want to achieve, right? If we don't try something for long enough, this is when we start saying, that's okay. You know what? If it doesn't work, I'll try something else. Or if it doesn't work that once, I'll try something else. But this can absolutely, and what happens here is the confusion comes in, and you kind of lose sight of what that actual goal is or was in the first place. It also gives you an excuse to get out. This was me hugely when I was working as a virtual assistant. My heart, and this is what happens too. If your heart isn't truly in what you're doing in your business, a backup plan also can give you an excuse to get out. Morning, Debbie. How are you, gorgeous lady? It can give you an excuse to back out. And the reason for this is because you've got this backup plan and you lose motivation, and you kind of say, oh well, never mind, I'll just do this instead. When I was working as a VA, this was essentially what I actually did. I started work, ladies, in 2018. I set up my business as a virtual assistant, and it didn't work out. In my heart, I didn't enjoy it. I just did it because it was what I knew how to do. And because my heart wasn't in it, within 6 months, I was actually back in a part-time day job. So that part-time day job was my plan B. And that didn't work out because I didn't have any motivation in my business. Now, I also didn't have any motivation in that part-time job either. So my original plan of running a business, my plan A, actually became plan C, right? So plan A was running a business, heart wasn't in it. Plan B was going back to a part-time job, which I didn't like it. And then so plan C was starting my business afresh, which I actually did. But I still had this overall mental thing of, oh, well, if that doesn't work, I'll just, that's my excuse to get out, right? It was a just in case. And this is a big one too for a lot of us, I think, that, no one really wants to look or feel like a failure, right? So if we have a backup plan, it saves face for us if things don't work out, right? And we just go, oh, well, that's okay. I mean, I knew that if it didn't work out, I could always go back to a day job. I knew if it didn't work out, I could always have, I've always got that savings in the bank. So it was a big thing for me. And this was essentially for me, leaving the business as a VA was essentially me saving face. Even quitting that job, that part-time job that I had as an administrator, was me, I was saving face quitting that job saying that I was going to go back and work on my business, right? So these, can you see how the backup plans, they can backfire if we allow them to, if we use them as a just in case. So there's a really subtle difference between the two. Now, this is a really good summary from Forbes magazine. I thought this was amazing. A backup plan can make you want to achieve a goal less. It makes you prematurely think that what's happening is okay. Whatever's happening is okay. So if it's not going your way, it's okay. Failure is okay. Now, to stop here, is failure really okay? No, I don't want to fail. But a backup plan can tell us mentally that failure is okay. Making those plans in your mind reduces your motivation and you don't try as hard. This was me. This was me last year when I almost quit my business. Because my backup plan, essentially, what one of my backup plans was, and I'm just going to stop the share here. How do I put this? So one of my backup plans that I was using as an excuse was, although I was grateful for it, it was the payments, the job seeker and job keeper payments that we were getting through the pandemic. I was using that as a backup plan, right? It's okay if I don't make sales this fortnight because I still have that money coming in that I can live off of. So I was using that as my backup plan. And so I didn't really have motivation to make those sales. Is this making sense? Can anyone else relate to this? And so what do you think happened to me in my mindset when those payments all of a sudden stopped? It was like, shit. I have not been running my business and putting myself out there like I could have for the last, I don't know how long it was 6 months, 8 months, whatever it was, for the last 8 months, because I have been using those payments as a backup plan. And I haven't been pushing myself as hard as I can in my business to make it work. So all of a sudden, when the payments stopped, I was like, oh crap, I've got no money coming in. And I didn't have a backup plan for my backup plan, because it was like, so I literally had to start from scratch. And that was essentially, and you girls have heard the story, you know, of when I just went on this massive journey, self-discovery journey of, well, am I going to still do my business? Am I going to quit? Backup plan was to go and find another job, right? What am I going to do? Another side of that backup plan was when I was doing some work for my coach, which was an incredible learning experience, and I was grateful for that work that I received. However, what I had to realize, there was a point that it came to where I was using again that income that was coming in from that part-time job or that contract, that was taking time away from me putting into my business. And again, I was using it as a backup plan. That's okay if I don't make sales this week, because I still have that money coming in. When I took the backup plan away, when I made the decision that my business was going to be my business, right? That was the only thing I was going to do. And B, I wasn't going to work for anyone else. I wasn't going to contract for anyone else if it took too much time out of my business. And I made the decision that I was going to solely focus on my business, on building my business. When I took that backup plan away, all those backup plans away, my focus came right back onto my goals, and everything shifted. Do you see what I mean? So the backup plans can be good, but they can really backfire if we remain so focused on them and if we allow them to be. So just a few questions for you ladies that I would invite you to dive deep into yourself right now. Positivity, exactly, Parme. I would invite you to dive deep into yourself right now and ask yourself these questions. And I want you to be really, really honest with yourself. This is tough. I'm not going to lie. Do you have a backup plan? Do you have one? And why do you have one? What are you scared of? Or are you scared of something? Right? Are you scared of, do you have a backup plan? Is your backup plan like, it's okay if I don't, if my business fails, that's okay. I'm going to go back to a day job because I'm a bit scared. I'm scared of failure. I'm scared of not doing good enough. I'm scared of success. That was a huge one for me. I was scared of the success. It sounds weird, but I was, right? And so I would invite you ladies to go and sit and maybe do a bit of journaling around this. Do you have a backup plan? Why? What are you scared of? And how is that backup plan affecting your business currently, right? How is it affecting the way you work within your business? How is it affecting your business sales in itself? Is are you kind of holding back from doing what you know you need to do in your business because of that scarcity? You see what I mean? So really, really confronting questions and important questions. And these are all questions that I've asked myself and thought-provoking. Yeah, hey Michelle, I didn't know you were there. Hello, darling. It is thought-provoking, and I have even coming back from a 2-week break, I've had to come back to this, and this is why this was a little bit confronting for me from doing this. I'm like, well, do I have a backup plan? Why do I have one? What am I scared of? And how is that idea of that backup plan currently affecting me and my business? And in all honesty, yes, it has been, but I still have those initial goals and those plans. They haven't changed for me because, like I said, the plans that I have are still within my business. I don't have any desire. I don't have any any need. I don't have any want to go back to a day job. Not anymore. My business is my business. So it's changing the way we use these backup plans. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh my God, hey Marianne, hey gorgeous, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh my God, Ali, you've really got me thinking and I want to talk through that more and I need help within my business, I want to offer you ladies this is real support here. 30 minutes of free laser focus coaching in your business with me. And at the end of these calls, I absolutely give the opportunity to see whether you can work with me, whether you'd like to work with me further. And there's several different ways that you can do that. So, but these are absolutely, 30 minutes of free laser focus coaching that you do get from me. We talk through your business. Some ladies have come to these and they have had, I've given them some advice and they've gone and implemented what I've suggested to them and made sales straight away. So these calls are fantastic. So I would love you to book in for one of these calls. If you'd like to do that, pop the word focus in the chat and we will be in touch with you to book in a time, my gorgeous ladies. So thank you so much. Oh my God, I've just missed doing these trainings. It's only been 2 weeks, but my God, I've missed it. I'm so excited to be back. And so I do look forward to talking to those of you who want to book in. So again, pop the word focus in the chat if you would like to book in for one of my coaching sessions, the 30-minute coaching sessions. It would be really lovely to talk to you. Now, lastly, before I go, if you haven't seen, I have a very big announcement coming up tomorrow in the group. So if you, excuse me, there is an event, we've popped the event. If you want to come, if you don't want to miss out on that very special announcement that I'm going to make sure that you reply as going to that event and we will tag you in the live announcement so you don't miss out. And also you'll get a reminder on Facebook as well. All right, you missed our Tuesday lives. I know, Parme, right? All right, my lovely ladies, thank you for joining me today. Book in for a chat, pop the word focus in the comments, and I will talk to you soon, and I'll see you in the group again soon. Okay, bye.